A lot of heating conversation, but first of all, let me apologize to some of our viewers. We've not been up to date giving information about the happenings here, but we're back again and we're going to roll as usual. Thanks for being keeping patience with us and for all of the endurance. And for those who are making a lot of comment on our session, I appreciate your comment. It's part of the constructive criticism that we're looking out for, and also we're working towards that to ensure that we have a balanced conversation here. But let me give you some of the news headlines of what is going on in the country this morning. Let me start with the Punch this morning. If you look at the Punch here at the top, at the window page, it says most Nigerian leaders' knowledge of development shallow. That is coming from our own president, past president now, Olusegun Obasanjo, our first democratic president. He said the knowledge of development that most leaders have in this nation is a very shallow one. You can find that on page 7 of the Punch paper. Then forest crisis, passengers grown as foreign airlines hike fares. Wow. I mean, the issue of fuel and petrol, the hike is pretty much crazy. Every day we started from 5 something and now it's 6.70. I mean 6.20. In some station you find it is 6.17, and it's not even easy. This morning, I mean, the vehicle I boarded, there was a bit of you know, the hike is just something on a very high side. So if you, on the window page, I mean, the major headlines here is saying subsidy paying, Labour talks tough, ASU protesters condemn relief plans. It says SANU, ASU says fuel subsidy unintelligently removed. NLC meets today. TUC reject 5% of telecom tax plan tuition hike. Then Kwara Ogun rolls out palliative, and that is what the Labour unions are all saying. Let's come down here. The anthrax FCT leaves 1 million cattle for vaccination. You know, and I think Kaduna was the first recorded their own case of anthrax, and then we're seeing FCT here leasing 1 million cattle for vaccination. Then Benio police recover disembarked corpse of missing lady. We saw this lady, I think a ritualist, just dismembered her own body and all of that, part of her body. Then 2 Uni Abuja lecturers dismissed for sexual harassment. I mean, this could serve as deterrent to other lecturers, because if you go to high institution, tertiary institution, the harassment is pretty much from lecturers. So we hope that this serves as deterrent to those who are harassing a lot of, especially female students that are more vulnerable to all of those harassment. Let's look at Daily Trust this morning. Amnesty International asks Lagos to hold mass burial of 103 SARS victims. I'm actually surprised by seeing this headlines here, because when the SARS protest of a thing was going on, I think there was denial by the federal government that nothing of such, there was no victim, no casualty. But coming to see at this time in 2023, after 2 years, that 103 victims died of SARS. I don't understand how this is happening. I'm going to bring a young man into this conversation.
I will not.
Okay, earlier I know you told me you've given up on Nigeria.
Yes.
Okay, but let me get you, before we come to other issues, let me get you to talk about this issue. You know, the SARS that took place in 10th of October 2020, isn't it?
September 20th.
No, it's October because it's 2020.
September.
Okay, the mass shooting. Okay, let's go on that. So if you look at here, recently we're hearing issues of 103 victims, mass burial of 103 victims who died of that SARS protest. But earlier we knew that the federal government or the government of Lagos said there was no victim, no casualty, no death. But how come we are seeing this? I don't even understand.
Lagos state government is still in denial that nothing like that happened. So we all know that there was killings in the protest, but up till now, I think there was a leaked memo about the burial of how to bury the 103 people. But I think yesterday Lagos state government came out to say that there was nothing like that.
No, but look at what the paper is carrying. Amnesty International asked Lagos State to hold mass burial, to let them pause the burial of SARS, 103 SARS victims.
Yes. That's what I'm saying. They are denying that it's not SARS victims. I think the governor, based on what I read, that during the SARS protest, there was some killings around so they picked some of the corpses and everything, not at the vicinity of as Lekki 2. That was their denial.
So where the people, where did they fall from? Where did they die from the sky?
My dear, that's a country for you. That's Nigeria for you. They always deny it. Do you want them to agree, to admit that something like that happened? But we all know something like that happened. Even the former defense information in nature, he said it. He is a retired general. He said it. That why he said what he said then was because he was under the military.
Okay, so in military you don't speak the truth.
No.
You follow the order.
You follow the order. But during the last election, I think he was a member of the Labour Party. You know, when he was appointed as a member of the campaign council, Nigeria youth rejected him. So
he had to come out and confess.
Yes, that based on authority he was under, that he can't say anything contrary. But we all know the truth. So no matter how they deny it, so they cannot defend it. The memo is a leaked memo. Everybody saw it. So I don't know why they are denying it.
Well, may God comfort the family of the bereaved. Okay, look at what Obasanjo just said here. Nigeria has failed from the blueprint paper this morning. Nigeria has failed Africa, disappointed the world. That's from Obasanjo. If you come here again, you see most Nigerian leaders' knowledge of development shallow. You can't be like Obasanjo, they pop out, don't they talk these days. But person can't talk, say, him will be Obasanjo. You know, they are among the people
they are part of the failures.
Abi?
Is all of them from 1960. All our dealers are failures. That's it.
All right, just getting the take.
If they have done it right, we wouldn't have been where we are talking. How come from since 1960 to now we don't have stable electricity? Education is falling, health sector, infrastructural wise. So they have been there before. So I think they're almost the same.
May God help Nigeria. But let me just let's round up on this before we engage other people who are going to be having deep conversation with. So earlier we were looking at this NSAS. The federal government told us, Lagos state government told us earlier that there was no victim casualty.
I don't want to discuss on NSAS.
Okay, so just hold on. Let me round up this conversation. So let's look at Daily Trust this morning on the major headline is saying road crashes, 4,387 killed in 6 months. FCT Ogun Nasarawa top chart. Wow. Figures rise in second quarter. Speeding substandard tires, brake failure, major causes. Those are major causes of those deaths, rising toll that we saw in there. And 307,554 violations recorded from road safety service corps, saying about 307,554 violations recorded, which resulted to some of this death toll that we see here in 6 months' time. But coming down here, palliative, we don't frustrate the process. That's what TUC are saying here. In Kogi State, Kogi SDP governorship campaign office set ablaze. We don't know what resulted to that. Police arrest 4 Boko Haram members plotting attack to attack Atiku's house. Wow. Student must have registered a call before graduation. Abuja VC saying that. Okay, let's look at the window page here. Already, we've seen that earlier. Then rising cost of living, crippling businesses, households, said NACA. Then Jigawa seeked recovery of encroached property in Kano State. Man, rising cost of living is actually so terrible right now. Very, very, very terrible. Very, very terrible. I don't know how most Nigerians are surviving, but somehow, we many people tell it's a miracle because there's no money. Fuel is on the high side, and of course, this has resultant effect on food prices as well. But let's go look at what Vanguard is saying. But of course, the president has said that Nigerians should give him time, should endure a bit, that this whole thing is going to be resolved. Let's hope that that assurance comes to fulfillment. Okay, Vanguard this morning is saying on the window page, disclose identities of NSAS mass burial. Amnesty tell federal government, disclose the identity. It is very, very important. It is very, very important that this be disclosed, because earlier we saw that, I mentioned that earlier, the government of Lagos, even the federal government, told us that there was no victim of NSAS. It was later on we started hearing a bit of small burial, 2, 3, 4, 5 people there. And now we're seeing a whooping number of 103 mass burial. that needs to be tackled very well, so we don't have a very lawless nation. So I think it's important for the federal government to come up and tell us more about this issue. Tinubu, not a magician. APC didn't promise overnight a solution. That's Adam Oshomole, Senator Adam Oshomole, of course, is changing position right now. Not longer comrade. You see that on page 9 of Vanguard paper. Then also 4 arrested as Atiku Hill's operative over 4 terror attack on residents. We saw that in Daily Trust, where Atiku house is to be set ablaze. But let's see how that investigation pans out. Okay, anxiety as serving as governors, order piles pressure on Tinubu. APC member urged to remain calm. Governors submit 3 names. Rivers APC leaders split. A lot of crises. I saw something, I mean, just saw a headline. Some are arguing that Wike's name is not in the ministerial list, while some are saying, I think one of the leaders in APC in Rivers State have come out to say that his name is actually there. But let's see how things pan out. Hopefully this week or next week, we're going to see the full list. So whatever thing that is being spread out there could be mere speculations. Okay, then let's look at okay, so anxiety. So they said government submits 3 names. Rivers APC leaders split, and Tinubu to make the constitutional provision. Makinde to make nominations. Technocrats, LP, PDP leaders to make lists out of this week. Of course, Tinubu has said that he's going to have a government of inclusion where he's going to carry every party along. But let's see how that pans out in this thing. How Nigerian leaders disappointed citizens, African, black race, and the world. OBJ on page 15 of the Vanguard paper. We saw that in also some of the papers this morning. Musk's rebrand Twitter replaces bird logo with X. We don't know about that. Musk is actually a very controversial man. So he owns Twitter. He has the right to do anything he wants to do. Okay, global principles for fair compensation for publishers by Google, Facebook launch as Nobel laureates, BBC, NGE, others endorse principle. You can find that on page 8 of the paper. Let's quickly go to the Guardian paper this morning. Made in Nigerian smartphones fumble as monthly importation hits 50 billion. Made in Nigerian smartphones fumbles as monthly importation hit 50 billion naira. I don't know when. I think one of the presidential candidates had told us that he's going to turn Nigeria into a productive economy or productive nation. You can see, so even our own phones that we produce over here in Nigeria, there's no much patronage. You can see that importation price has hit 50 billion, and monthly, of course, that would not make up for good GDP. You saw the rate of dollar rising every day. This could be a contribution to all of those issues that are happening. Okay, you can see the phones here. Then Ababio eyes constitutional role for traditional rulers as about to commit to restructuring. Tribunal nullifies LP candidates election, declares PDP's Elumelu winner. I read that again. Tribunal nullifies LP candidate election, declares PDP Elumelu winner. You can find that on page 3 of the Guardian paper this morning. Also, we saw the mass burial. Amnesty International tackles Lagos government on identities of SARS victims. Let's quickly go to this day. On the major highline, the Obasanjo Nigeria is sitting dangerously on cake of gun power. Nigeria is sitting dangerously on the cake of gun power. That's what the former president Obasanjo is saying here. You've seen in other papers where he said Nigeria had failed, Nigerian leaders have failed the nation and even Africa. Then also looking down here, police arrest on the window page 4 suspects in plot to attack Atiku and others. PDP demand injury inquiry. Frank seeks security be up around XVP. Okay. Says, okay, let's go to leadership. On the window page here, TUC gives FG 2 weeks ultimatum on palliative. TUC giving LG the ultimatum, but we don't know how that's going to pan out. What is the palliative they're talking about? Could it be the normal 8,000 naira? which some Nigerians have tell you this 8,000 is not going to be beneficial, because 8,000 now cannot even, how long can it even last? Everything is on a very high side, so I don't know how that. Some have suggested that why not use that money that you want to use to give Nigerian palliative and get these buses and spread them across the country. I think that's going to serve as a reprieve instead of the 8,000 naira. Of course, opinion of some Nigerians out there. Then, okay, arrests vow to recover 9 billion gas flaring fines from airing oil firms. Okay, back to the window page. CBN may raise rate today over rising inflation. Okay, IGP insists on withdrawal of mobile police from VIPs. Okay, that is the new Inspector General of Police on that. Then Funre as Lagos reps pick 4 juicy committee chairs. Okay, these are their names here. Without time, I wouldn't want to read all of that. Okay, let's look at Tribune this morning. Still about Obasanjo voice aired here on Tribune. Nigeria has disappointed itself, Africa and the world. Page 8 of the Tribune paper this morning. On the window page here, saying police arrest 4 suspects over attempted attack on Atiku's residence. Awolowo does Sumu to chair Odua's Investment Foundation Advisory Council as company set to launch foundation inaugurate council July 27th. Okay, down here you can see these are protesters, and if I can see what they are saying here, we said no to constant increment in PMS. This is I think this should be somewhere in one of the states in Nigeria. I don't know actually where. It's a protesters rock. Okay, this is in Benin actually. Protesters rock Benin over hardship caused by petrol prices. They said no more hike, stop increase. This thing was 500 and something, and Nigerians complain. Now you're taking it up to about 617 in other states. Some few stations 620, and I saw one even said it's 630 something in one of the few stations he went to get fuel. Okay, gory details of Ore petrol tanker explosion. Wow, it's a sad one. You can find that on page 28 of the Tribune paper this morning. It said how pregnant women, 3 children were caught into inferno. 9-year-old boy trampled to death in ensuing melee murder, sedated, and police confirmed 8 dead. It's a very sad one. That news, a very, very dangerous one. Let's go to This is Nigeria. It's a PEPC, APC, LP, PDP trade wars over written addresses. President lawyers say Atiku Obi laboring in vain. Then Tinubu Shetima responds, shocking, says Obi tribunal should ensure justice is delivered. I think I'm going to stop here today, but before then, let me tell you the Point paper. It's a crime danger as young Nigerians misapply talent. Says take the lead in ritual fraud cases, blame political religious leader, analysts what the nation must do to halt a trend. Stakeholders. We saw one of the papers where a young lady was dismembered of all her body parts because of this ritualist kind of case, and this is the face of the National Security Advisor here. Okay, then let's come down here. Confusion over leaked memo on 61.2 million allegedly approved by Sanwo-Olu for mass burial of one. I keep wondering over these issues actually. Earlier we were told there was no SARS victim. Later it started coming up 1 or 2 people dead. Now we're seeing 100. That is after 2 years from 2020. Now we're seeing 103 mass burial for mass victim. I mean for SARS victim. It's really crazy here. I think the federal government needs to answer some of the questions that Nigerians have asked. This looks to be, I mean to me, like so much of disrespect for the nation as large, and these are human beings. They are not goats or some chickens or birds out there. Okay, so I think we're going to wrap up this paper here, but let me just give you Telegraph. Okay, ahead of Atiku Obi moved to form alliance against Tinubu. Alliance Atiku and Obi. So who is going to? I mean, this whole tribunal issue is really very, very interesting. Some, you know, the APC and the APC actually have come up to say that if you want to conduct a rerun, then Obi, who came third, should not even be part of it at all. The rerun should be between Tinubu and Atiku. But now, Labour Party wants to form an alliance. But let's see how that pans out. You can get some of these papers and read full details about them. But here at the newspaper stand, I am Austin Beatrice Sana. This is 7 TV.